This is the plaintiff, Leilani Jones. She says the defendant is her neighbor, and his tree fell on her camper, damaging it. The tree was unhealthy. The defendant refuses to pay for her damages, and she's here in the name of justice, suing for the $1,052.95 she's owed. This is the defendant, Lynn Toski. He says he's extremely ticked off his neighbor is suing him in court over this matter. The plaintiff knows this was an act of God. She's suing for more than her camper's even worth, and he owes this opportunist neighbor of his nothing. He's accused of not yelling, "Timber!"
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says that the defendant's tree fell on her camper and damaged it, and the defendant won't pay. But the defendant says he didn't blow the tree down, the wind did, and he's not at fault. It's the case of not yelling timber.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Jones, what happened?
Good afternoon. So a tree fell onto my camper from my neighbor's property, Lynn. It caused damage to the roof and the inside panel.
All right, this camper was parked where?
My landlord owns the property. To my understanding, it's a shared easement, but the property is actually on my landlord's.
Okay, so you were parked there, and then what happened? Was it a storm?
There was a storm, yes.
All right, so, and do you have any pictures of the tree on your camper? What kind of a camper was this?
It's a 1985 pop-up camper. I did send you a bunch of pictures of the tree.
Yeah. Okay. How long have you had it?
For about 15 years. I bought it in 2007.
That's the ceiling?
Yes.
So when you saw the damage, what did you do?
I contacted my neighbor and asked him to come down so we could assess the damages.
Okay.
He came down and told me that the tree was perfectly healthy and he had no idea why it fell. He also told me that his insurance said that he's not liable due to an act of God. Okay,
so I assume there was some time between him looking at it and him giving you the insurance people's answer.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick time. It was within a day.
Oh, well, okay. And what about your collision that you have on this? Your insurance, you don't have insurance on this?
I do not have insurance on the camper.
Okay, let me hear from you, Mr. Toski.
Well, Your Honor, this incident happened on February 2nd, which incidentally is Groundhog Day. It seems like I've been dealing with this incident over and over since it happened.
Okay.
But what happened was I woke that morning and to the sound of a chainsaw, and my neighbor, Leilani's landlord, was down there with his gardener chopping up the tree that fell from my property onto her trailer. The problem is her trailer was illegally parked in the middle of which is an actual road called Fawn Trail. So as part of my evidence, I submitted a county plot map of my property and Mr. Quick's property.
Who owns the road? Do you own it or does he own it? Okay. So, and
I own 10 feet into the middle of the road.
Okay. How long has she been parked there, by the way, on an easement?
Probably 5 years.
Oh, okay. So it never bothered you before this day?
No, I never.
Right.
I never really had a problem with it. But,
okay. So tell me about the tree. Was this tree diseased in any way?
Well, not to my knowledge. The tree appeared perfectly healthy. I also submitted pictures of the root ball where it came out of the ground, and you can see the greenness of the roots where they were attached. You can see that the tree was healthy where it was attached, but the roots were literally ripped out of the ground, probably by a microburst of wind.
And what am I looking at here that tells me that the tree was healthy?
You can see the lighter patches of the tree roots where they were literally ripped off, where it's still green and viable.
Where's the green?
In the left-hand picture, you can see the bark where it's still green and healthy. I mean, in my opinion, I'm not an arborist, so I don't know, but
Mr. Toski, when Ms. Jones came to you and said, hey, do you have any insurance that'll cover this, did you consult with your homeowners?
I did on the same day.
And what did they say?
They submitted a letter to her, which I also submitted as evidence, which was dated February 8th.
The essential gist of which is act of God, right?
Yes.
Right. So what evidence, Ms. Jones, the law is that if my tree falls on your property, I am responsible only if I was on actual notice or should have been on notice that the tree was diseased and was causing a hazard to people. What evidence do you have that the tree was diseased?
So I also submitted pictures of the tree that he did not show parts of.
Okay.
The tree looks very unhealthy to me. There's multiple holes throughout the roots. The center of the tree looks weird to me. It's a little bit hollowed out, a little bit black.
Well, he can't see the center of the tree, can he? He doesn't see the tree when it's not.
I meant the base.
Okay. You're looking at holes, and this is where? In the root? What am I looking at in these pictures where you put hole 3, hole 2?
That is the roots. That's where the tree fell from. So there you can also see that there's old stumps on the tree. So there has been work done to it before. So there's definitely issues with it.
No, okay. Someone trimming the tree doesn't mean there's an issue with the tree. You need to give me an arborist who says this tree was dead, has been, and you could tell that it looked dead. And you told us in your complaint, in fact, you'd say to him that you have an arborist's opinion. Dear Lynn, I'm writing this to you as a last attempt to ask for compensation. And here's this paragraph. I had an arborist come out to inspect the tree. He said the tree shows signs of being unhealthy, and there would have been visible signs of this when the tree was standing. That's what I need for you to prove your case. Can I have that?
Yes, he went along and said that all of the holes in the roots were not normal for a tree. He also said that a healthy tree would have ivy growing all over it. I'm not sure what he meant by that.
I need the report from the arborist, the professional, for you to prove your case, because your opinion about how a tree looked, where you have no idea how that tree looked because you never looked at that tree before, is not worthwhile in court to prove your case. I need the actual arborist's opinion. Can I have that?
I do not have a statement from the arborist because we found out that he was no longer certified, so he was not able to send me.
So did you get a different arborist?
Anything in notice. I tried to look into it. All of the certified arborists were too expensive for me. I sent you quotes and emails of me trying to get an arborist.
I have that, but you trying to get proof of your case is not sufficient to sustain the burden of proof in your case.
I do have evidence. I honestly think that the arborist is not my most solid evidence. Can I tell you what else I have?
Sure. Go
as
ahead.
far as evidence?
Uh-huh.
I have a witness with me. When I spoke with Lynn, he told me the tree was perfectly healthy. Mm-hmm. And then he had a conversation with my landlord before us, and he had told my landlord that he knew he should have cut the tree down before it fell.
Okay, so who is your witness? Your landlord?
Yes.
Let me hear from your landlord.
Okay, I'll switch seats with her.
Great. Hi, what's your name?
My name's Celeste.
All right, can you raise your right hand, please? We need to swear you in. Okay, so tell me how you can shed some light on this.
My husband, there were some landscaping people that came by, and they were looking for work. And so my husband just asked the man, hey, do you have a chainsaw? Could you cut this into lengths and move it off of her trailer so it doesn't cause any more damage?
Is your husband here to testify?
No, but my husband came to the house and asked me to bring him $40 to pay this man.
Okay.
And that's when I went outside.
Okay.
And so I took my camera and the $40, and I took pictures of the tree on the trailer.
Okay.
And once the gentleman started up his chainsaw, then Lynn came down from his house, and he said, oh, hey, I heard the chainsaw. And then he said, oh, so that tree finally fell. I knew I should have taken it out the last time she had her trailer out of there, but I got lazy.
Okay.
And
Lynn, what say you to that?
That's your
That is not what happened at all. I don't recollect that conversation. What happened is I heard the chainsaw, and I had a conversation with Mr. Quick. And
Did you have any conversations with Mrs. Quick?
No, none at all.
Did you ever say to Mrs. Quick or to anybody in front of Mrs. Quick, oh, I knew I should have taken that tree down, I got lazy?
No, I never said that at all.
Okay. Where's Mr. Quick? Is Mr. Quick here?
The other thing, though, Judge.
He's not? Where is he? Can we talk to him?
He paid us the $40.
Who paid you?
I paid.
Yeah, but that could be just an act of goodwill. That doesn't mean I knew a tree was diseased. That doesn't mean that.
When Joe told me that he paid his yard man $40 to cut the tree up, well, it was something that I could have done myself, but I paid Joe that $40, and when I did, I said, I pay this without accepting any liability. I'm paying it as a gesture of goodwill. So I'm very sorry that this whole incident happened. I apologize for it to Leilani, but I do not believe that I have any liability because it was an act of God caused by a microburst of wind.
Yeah. Okay, let me have Leilani back. The problem is that you have the burden of proof, and when you have the burden of proof and you're asking for $1,000, you know, if it's not cost beneficial for you to prove it, then it's not cost beneficial for you to prove it. The best that you've done is give me Mrs. Quick, who claims that Mr. Tosky said that day, oh, I should have cut it down. Okay, but that I should have cut it down doesn't mean that he really legally had to cut it down. It means he feels bad. So he denies having said that, but I'm going to assume he did say it. I have to know whether on the day in question that tree was diseased and or dead enough, and obviously so, such that he should have known that it needed to come down. That's a pretty tall standard, because I can leave a tree that doesn't have leaves now and it could come back. There's got to be some very obvious evidence. And the way you prove that to me is that you bring me an arborist right away that looks at it. And it doesn't have to be, you got a quote for the most expensive arborist in town. I mean, a tree guy could do. All right, I'm ruling in this case in favor of Mr. Tosky based on, the lack of firm evidence that the tree was diseased and or dead and that he knew it and or should have known it. I don't believe that the statement by Ms. Quick, even though it's pretty much the best thing you had, carries the day on that. I don't. Verdict for Mr. Tosky. Sorry.
We're taking a break. When we come back, Doug's in the hallway with the litigants, and Judge Millian is in chambers with hubby John.
Are you having a dispute with your neighbor? Contact us at peoplescourt.com and hit submit your case.
Well, there's a very interesting case with a lot of evidence. Unfortunately for the plaintiff, she didn't have the specific evidence she needed, which was a statement from an arborist. Ms. Jones, what are you thinking right now?
I do understand everything. I suppose I should have got an arborist. They were way too expensive. It was $700, which is about the value of my trailers. So I was concerned that if I took them to court and lost, I would be paying a lot more. But I guess if I would have got an arborist, I may have won the case. So lesson learned there.
I just hope this doesn't cause a lot of animosity amongst the neighbors in your neighborhood over there. Do you think it will? The fact that you sued?
No,
your landlord's wife?
This is the only issue I've ever had with a neighbor, and I'd like to just let it go and just move on with everything. There's no hard feelings or anything at all.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, sorry you lost. Mr. Tosky, how do you feel about it? You're not upset with them for testifying against you, are they?
No, not at all. I'm just really sorry that the whole incident happened, and I'd like to maintain a good relationship with my neighbors, and I just feel that it was an act of God.
Well, good for you. Good for you. And as far as the court is concerned, obviously it was. You can't prove otherwise. So that'll do it. All righty, Harvey, very interesting case. What do you think about it?
Doug, I gotta say that trees just don't suddenly die. When they get unhealthy, you can see it. And if you have a tree or your neighbor has a tree right on the edge of the property and it looks like it's sickly or it looks like it's just not doing well, send the neighbor a text or an email, put something in writing saying your tree is sickly. Then the onus is on the defendant, the neighbor, to look at the tree and evaluate it. And if they don't do it, your case is much, much stronger.
Judge Milian, do you call your husband Your Honor, and does he call you Your Highness?
Your Honor. Well, you know, one of the lessons you learn as a judge when you're no longer on the bench, and I'm retired, but you should learn it when you're on the bench, is that your first name really isn't Judge, okay?
No, honestly, I answer to just Judge like it's my first name.
I know, I get it a lot too.
Sometimes you call me Your Grace, but you're making fun of me after Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
I bring you your
Is there anything
coffee.
else I can bring you, Your Grace?
Right.
Will that be all, Your Grace?
Once about, it must be almost 10 years ago, I was playing golf in LA with George Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
And he was an excellent golfer, by the way, really good.
And a great actor and comedian.
Great actor, great comedian, very funny guy. And I think he beat me by 4 or 5 strokes on the day. But in golf, if you win a hole, you get the honor on the next hole of teeing off first. So they call it honors. And I actually won the first hole. We're walking to the second hole, and George, we get off the cart, and George kind of waves his arm and goes, Your Honor, Your Honor. It was the first time I laughed that day, but I spent the entire day laughing so hard my ribs hurt. And another thing, on the first tee, when I showed up, he was wearing these really cool golf shoes with the tricolor Mexican flag on each shoe. I'd never seen them before or since, but he had them on, and they were loud, and he had the game to back it up. So